Comprehensive Report on Geopolitical Dynamics in Africa, French, Russian, and Global Influence. Introduction. Africa has become a critical battleground for international influence, with global powers such as France, Russia, China, the United States, Turkey, and Germany vying for strategic partnerships. Historically, France has maintained a stronghold on many African nations through neo-conservative policies rooted in colonial ties, but these approaches are increasingly seen as outdated in the evolving geopolitical landscape. This report analyzes the shifting dynamics, particularly focusing on the decline of French influence, the rise of Russian engagement, and the broader competition in Africa. France's declining influence. France's long-standing dominance in its former colonies is under strain as African nations assert their sovereignty. Recent developments include minimal French presence. Desired, many African nations express a desire for reduced French military and political presence, criticizing France's neo-conservative policies as relics of a bygone era. Closure of French bases. Countries like Chad have announced the closure of French military bases, reflecting broader discontent. Failure to adapt. Despite historical success, France has struggled to modernize its approach. The insistence on traditional policies alienates African nations, making room for competitors. To maintain influence, France must develop a fresh strategy that aligns with African aspirations, emphasizing mutual respect, investment in development, and equal partnerships. Russia's rising influence. Russia has successfully positioned itself as a partner that respects African sovereignty and independence. Key aspects of its approach include security partnerships. Russia often fills the security vacuum left by France and other Western nations, providing military training, weapons, and advisory services. Notably, private military companies like the Wagner Group have been active in countries like Mali and the Central African Republic. Diplomatic messaging. Russia emphasizes its support for African sovereignty, contrasting itself with Western nations perceived as neo-colonial. Economic and strategic partnerships. By engaging in resource agreements and infrastructure projects, Russia builds deeper ties across the continent. Broader global competition. African nations increasingly find themselves at the center of a multipolar contest. Key players include China dominates in economic influence through large-scale infrastructure investments, loans, and trade partnerships under the Belt and Road Initiative. United States focuses on counterterrorism, democracy promotion, and economic partnerships, but struggles with consistent engagement. Turkey and Germany, growing their footprint through trade, investment, and soft power, often emphasizing cultural and humanitarian diplomacy. The notion of sovereignty in Africa. The concept of sovereignty is central to the shifting dynamics. African leaders are leveraging their strategic importance to demand equitable partnerships and resist external dominance. This approach not only reflects a newfound assertiveness, but also redefines Africa's role in the global order. To remain relevant in Africa, France must reimagine policies, abandon outdated neo-colonial frameworks, and develop partnerships based on mutual benefits and respect. Invest in development, prioritize infrastructure, education, and economic initiatives to address local needs. Strengthen multilateral engagement. Work collaboratively with African regional organizations like the African Union. Adapt to competition. Study successful strategies by competitors like China and Russia to improve relationships. The geopolitical landscape in Africa is undergoing a profound transformation. While France grapples with declining influence, Russia's ascent and the broader competition among global powers highlight Africa's growing agency on the world stage. To thrive in this new environment, all players must respect African sovereignty, invest in sustainable partnerships, and align with the continent's aspirations for development and autonomy. Africa is becoming a battleground of all these great power. Africans are demanding the end of a condescending speech and encouraging any win-win cooperation to propel the continent's development. It is up to Africa what's best for the future of its people, because in cooperation between nations, there is no friends, but only interest. The King Kong has spoken. Like, share, comment, and subscribe.